I'm your host for today's program. And yes, I cannot believe it's Thursday again, Thursday Vietnam time. And it is our Thursday Science Talk with Dr. James as usual. And today we are going to talk to Dr. James. And I hope you enjoyed our previous Thursday Science Talk when you can learn a bit more about energy and relate to your energy practice. So today, Dr. James will be sharing with us how our human DNA can attract energy, yes, and how our intentions can affect the DNA of others. So these scientific evidences validate the practice of energy that utilizes the energy from the universe to help heal our bodies and also transmitting energy to others as healing support. It sounds familiar, right? Yes, if you are an energy practitioner, a seasoned practitioner, you would find this even more familiar. Yes, but now, let me put Dr. James on spotlight and we will continue our conversation. Good morning, Dr. James.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Good morning too. And good evening to you. Well, it's good to be back talking about different topic altogether. Today, we're going to talk about DNA. And it's going to be very exciting because it resonates and confirms that we are practicing something in NLG, which can be explained by science.
Yes, that sounds neat. Yes, and I am very excited to, I look forward to our Thursday Science Talk because we learn a lot. And the more we learn, the more we believe in our practice, right?
Absolutely, because for, I guess, centuries, we have been conditioned in our mind to think that whatever we can't see, it's not there. But, with recent development in quantum science, whatever we can't see, it's there, right? Yeah. And quantum science will explain. So that's something that we're going to discuss about today.
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because we are so used to thinking with our brain, right? Which is a polarity organ. But now we're talking about the heart that can think as well, right?
Absolutely.
Yes. And I'm so excited to hear more about that and to share with our audience of the topic today. It seems time flies. I couldn't believe that Thursday is here again. I felt like it was only a couple of days ago.
Yeah, I know.
Absolutely. Oh, yes. So talking about this weekend, are we having 2 classes going on, right? You are going to conduct class 1?
Yep. We have English class 1 and also French class 1 for the first time. Yeah. So it's going to be exciting.
Yes. So our audience, towards the end of our live stream and in the middle of it, we will give you a reminder about the classes. But now let's talk about our topic today, the thinking heart and how DNA can attract energy.
Yeah, yes. I believe you have some wonderful slides to share.
Actually, I do. I have colorful slides to share with the audience. And I think I can enlighten you with this. All right. So the heart intelligence and intuition, right? And then, so I just happened to learn a little more about heart intelligence, how our heart can think, and the ancient, what do you call it? Ancient technique, healing technique. Let me talk about that later. But intuitively, when you are startled, when you are afraid of something, you tend to touch your heart, right? Like you do that because you want to connect to your heart. You do. And you want to, your heart has intelligence. It actually has scientists recently, they found out that there are about 40,000 brain-like cells in the heart. Yeah.
40,000 neurons. So
neurons. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Dr. James. Yes. Right. And then your heart is basically working like a brain. It can think, but these cells are brain-like cells, but they're not in the brain. They're in the cells. So yeah, and absolutely looks like. I'm sorry. This is about the other topic. how DNA can attract energy. So we're going to show you some fun pictures. I won't stay here too long because I would like to go back to Dr. James' conversation very soon. Yeah. A heart, DNA, and that's it. Alrighty. Oh, excuse me. All right, it's hard to see that white blank background. Okay, Dr. James. All right,
Well,
back to you. Yes,
actually,
please.
our heart not only can think, but it can also radiate electromagnetic field. That's why you have the slide on the magnet and the field around us. And those things we have also discussed in the past. And by the way, for those of you who are interested in knowing more, you can always go to our YouTube channel, Vietnam Global. And there's a playlist of 10 scientific videos that I have specially created to help explain about energy and what's going on around us so that we can feel comfortable dealing with it. And definitely, as what Tu has shown you, we have the electromagnetic field that is very strong coming from our heart. So how we feel, because our heart can think, how we feel from the heart and think from the heart is very important, because the electromagnetic field is 100 times stronger than the electromagnetic field from our brain. So it resonates very well with the practice of NLG, because NLG talks about the 5 forms of love, you know. And we also ask people to maintain the +1 - 1 calmness, you know, that is 60 to 80 heartbeat per minute for our practitioners. And at the same time, we also tell them that, hey, if you do encounter negative things, know how to block them, know how to deal with them. So yeah, it's a little bit about stress management. So if you're constantly in that positive framework, then your connectivity is very strong, right? So yeah, if I may today, I will, the main topic, I guess, is about DNA, right? So
yes,
if I can start off by sharing the DNA experiment. The first one is actually by a Russian scientist. And what he has done, actually there were 2 of them in Russia, but the one that that I'm going to share with you is by one of them who went to California, went to US and did that experiment. So what they have found actually, when they have a container and they took out everything from that container, so it's vacuum, and then what they did was they put a DNA dish inside, right? So, but before they did that, they took the photon, the light energy, and they shot through the container, which is vacuum container. And what they have found is, you know, a well spread kind of like energy that they can see in different spots. They have a method of measuring and also to create the visuals for themselves. I'm going to share with you in a short while, but I thought I'd just explain first. And then later on, what they did was they put the DNA dish inside that vacuum container. And guess what? The formation of that pattern of visual that they can see, it started to cling around the DNA, kind of like a spiral DNA kind of formation, which is very interesting. And then they took out the DNA dish from the container, and you would expect that it will be evenly spread, just like before you put in the DNA sample. Am I right? So it's like back to normal. But amazing thing is that when they took out the DNA dish, there were still different kinds of pattern being formed, which is a bit spooky, right? So they call it the phantom effect. So I'm just going to share this experiment and you can see for yourself. I've actually downloaded it. And let me just get this out of the way. Yeah, this one here. I hope you guys can see it too. Yeah. So,
yes, I can.
Yeah, the DNA phantom effect, and this was done by Dr. I'm not good in pronouncing a Russian name, Vladimir Poponin, I think. And it was actually a dual
Russian president, right?
yeah, and
Vladimir, yes.
Yeah, his partner was Dr. Peter Gariev, and this phantom effect was highlighted by Dr. Poponin in the HeartMath Institute of HeartMath in the United States. And let me just get this out of the way. And here it says, this new phenomenon, the DNA phantom effect, was first observed in Moscow at the Russian Academy of Sciences as a surprise effect during experiments measuring the vibrational modes of DNA in solution using a sophisticated and expensive Malvern laser photon correlation spectrometer. Very technical. These effects were analyzed and interpreted by Gariev and Poponin. So as I've highlighted, both of them did experiment in Russia, and that's what they have found within that vacuum, that when you put the DNA in it, the energy sort of wrap around the DNA kind of thing. So it shows that the DNA can absorb and attract the energy, right? And that's very important for us at NLG, right? So
yeah,
secondary to that is, this is the device that they use. Just quickly show you, all right? And this was the first one where the vacuum container, you can see the background is like evenly spread out, right? And the dots and everything evenly spread out. And there was no DNA. But once they place the DNA, look at the formation, the pattern. Isn't this like a DNA structure, right?
Yes.
It's like the DNA is communicating and absorbing with the energy. Am I right? It seems to be that way. Yeah.
They come alive, right?
Absolutely, absolutely. And then when they took out the DNA solution, you would expect it to go back to this formation, right? But guess what? When they took it out, it went to this pattern, right? So there was no more DNA inside the container. There's no more DNA. And look at the pattern. It still continues to look differently. See, right? So this.
I wonder what have become of them.
Well, I'll leave it to your imagination, as what I've said in the video that I have done in the YouTube channel. So, but what I believe too is that there is this invisible field that we don't see that is being generated even by the DNA, right? And when the physical DNA has left, but that field remains inside, and that is what is transforming between the field and the photon energy field. You're talking about two different fields there, right? Energy with energy. That's why, yeah, what the mind doesn't see doesn't mean it's not there, right? Okay, now I just want to share another experiment, which is very interesting. This one is about intention, heart intention. If, you know, at NLG, we practice 5 forms of love, and then we transfer energy to people. And when we do that, yeah, let's see the experiment, what he has to say, right? And this is also very interesting. And this website talks, because if I show you the PDF version, it's kind of boring. So I researched and I found this website that talks about it. And it's very easy to follow and understand. So here, this website basically talks about the power of intention. All right, so let me just read it for our viewers to understand. Okay, in the early 1990s, a series of experiments examining the effect of intentional emotions have on human DNA were conducted by biologist Glenn Rain and research director of the Institute of HeartMath, Roland McCarthy. The researchers wanted to examine if heart-focused intention can alter the conformation or shape, conformation is shape, right? Or the shape of a DNA sample in a test tube held by the research participants. Findings of these studies were published in 2003. So they did a lot of experiments in the 90s, and it was subsequently published in 2003. And they wanted to see if people who are trained with, you know, heart kind of coherence technique, they can actually change the DNA. Well, guess what? This is what they have found, all right? The results provide experimental evidence to support the hypothesis that aspects of the DNA molecule can be altered through intentionality. To our knowledge, this study was the first to correlate specific electrophysiological modes with the ability to cause changes in a biological target, DNA, external from the body. the data indicate that when individuals are in a heart focus, all right, heart focus, loving state, just like NLG, heart focus, loving state, and in a more coherent mode of physiological functioning, they have a greater ability to alter the conformation for shape of DNA. All right, so how did they do the experiment? I won't go into detail, but I just want to share this with you and tell you how they did it. They had 10 individuals who were familiar with heart coherence technique, all right, 10 people. And then they have what they call control samples, another 18 participants with no training from HeartMath were used as control. So 10 people, they are trained how to deal with heart coherence, love, compassion, and all that. The other 18, they're actually students from universities, right? The other 18 had no idea how to use or practice the 5 forms of love in NLG term, right? And guess what? The ones with the 10 who knows how to practice and use compassion and all that in the heart, they can change the shape of the DNA. They're holding the DNA in a test tube. They can actually change the DNA. Can you imagine that? But the other 18, no matter how hard they try, because they don't know the technique, they were unable to change the DNA. So what it shows is that, yeah.
I have a question, please. So when you said there are 2 groups of control, there are 2 control groups, right, for the experiment.
Yeah.
So you said
one control group, the 18.
I'm sorry, yeah.
One control group, and the other one, yeah, with the knowledge of heart coherence, yeah.
Okay. So you said that their DNA were stored in a petri dish, something like that.
Yeah, in a tube. Yeah.
It happens spontaneously. Yeah.
Well, no, one by one, individually they are being tested individually. I mean, the whole experiment, and individually they are being told to, you know, if you want to go into details, I'll tell you what they were told to do. All right. Okay. So here we go. This is the one. Each HeartMath trained participants, that means the 10 practitioners, right, who knows how to you know, focus on their heart and all that. Each HeartMath trained participant performed 3 experiments. First, in a state generating feelings of love and appreciation of heart focus state, and holding the intention to alter the DNA. All right, that's number 1. The second one is in a heart focus state, but no intention of altering the DNA. And in the third experiment, in their normal emotional state, that means not the HeartMath kind of emotional state, but in a normal emotional state, and with the intention to change the DNA. In that case, there's also no effect, all right? So it's only in number 1, in a state generating feelings of love and appreciation and holding that intention, they were able to alter the DNA. In the other second and third one, not at all, or not so much, all right? Then the control subjects, right? These are the people who had no idea about how to practice the compassion, love, and all that, right? With their heart. The control subjects were asked to participate in only 1 experiment where the subject was in a heart-focused state and with the intention to wind or unwind the DNA. So they did their level best to wind and unwind the conformity, the shape of the DNA, but they were unable to do so.
They were not.
Because they had no practice. They had no practice of the 5 forms of love, right?
Absolutely. They did not have the tools, right?
They didn't know that. Not only they didn't have the tools but I think they didn't have the passwords. That's correct. Yeah, you need to have the password to be connected, right? And the password is to practice the 5 forms of love.
There you go.
Interesting,
That's
isn't
interesting.
it?
So it sounds similar to some kind of experiments that I've read before about meditation practitioners as well, right? They can measure the brain waves, and but it's completely different. But this all physical. I mean, physical and emotional as well, because they set intention.
Okay, I will just share with you. This is the paper itself. the experiment itself and what it says. Let me just get rid of it so that I can see. Hang on. All right. Okay. All right. So here it's about non-local studies. You know what they did? They put these subjects 0.5 miles away from the DNA. 0.5 miles away. And guess what? It works. They were able to alter. All right. So I'll just highlight this. In other such non-local experiments, the intention to unwind the DNA caused a corresponding increase in the absorption peak. In other words, they were able to do that even when they were 0.5 miles from the DNA sample. Can you imagine that?
That's crazy. That's
right. So,
so...
well, it resonates with what we've been saying and what you've shown in the set of slides about the heart being able to radiate electromagnetic field, and here in this case 0.5 miles away, and still we can still see the changes in the DNA. Can you imagine that?
Yes, that's right. And yes, back to my earlier when I mentioned when we are startled and when you are shocked, and we tend to touch our heart because we want to connect with our heart, and we somehow like our heart is losing energy, and because we have qi, we have energy through the fingertips, like the Chinese they call it qi. So when you touch your heart, you're unconsciously giving your heart energy, and it's amazing how you just connect to your heart, like intuitively to get out of the bad situation. That's what I meant.
Yeah. And you know, in this experiment, you know, the control subjects, they had no training in compassion and the heart coherence method. But in the experiment of the 18 people, one of them had a really, really upsetting day, and he came in. All right, let me just share this with you. Okay. Yeah. One of the control group participants recruited from the local community entered the research facility in a generally upset and frustrated mood and exhibited little control over his emotions. This individual showed an unusually chaotic heart rhythm pattern, further confirming his negative emotional state. Negative, right? So he's no longer practicing love because he was so disturbed, right? He was not able to focus on the idea of self-generating positive feeling. Of course, he was upset, so he cannot generate a positive feeling, and was unfamiliar concept to him. He did, however, agree to hold the beaker containing the DNA. So he held the beaker containing the DNA sample, and let's see what happened, right? Okay.
I can tell.
He was not able to maintain the focus intention. His energy did cause a change in the conformation of DNA sample. So of course, when you are upset, it's also bad. It becomes very tight, the DNA, right? So when you're happy, when you practice love, everything is good. You see, that's how the DNA in our body works, right? So if we scold people and we are full of hatred and anger to our children, for example, how do you think our children's DNA will look like?
I'm sure, right.
But if we give love to our family, our children, how do you think their DNA will look like? So
absolutely,
it's food for thought, but it's definitely very powerful too. Very, very powerful. And this is the proof. I mean, what else do you want, right? That's why, because our minds have been trained that what we don't see, we don't believe. And maybe it's about time that we have to start changing on that. Yeah, because what we don't see is still there, right? And according to our practice of NLG, because we practice on the 5 forms of love, and our focus in about always Mr. Lee, whenever he has the opportunity, he will always go back to the 5 forms of love.
Absolutely.
All the time.
Right. He always goes back to the 5 forms of love, because I think, he was indirectly telling us that your heart can think, your heart has intelligence, connect to it.
Yeah, that's the key. And that's why, coming up with this series of videos and explanation. Hopefully it will enlighten the people who are watching for the first time, and even our existing members, so that you feel really comfortable that, hey, you know, what we're doing is all there. It's just that the science can only give us hints because of quantum science that we know nowadays of what's out there, and to help us understand better. But it's always been there.
Right. And talking about the heart as well, when you are, well, not you, when us, we are in a dangerous situation, like our heart is beating fast, and there's a technique to that as well. And you slow down your breath. And that way, your heart is connected to the wisdom. And it's like open your heart to the doorway to calmness, right?
Yeah.
So
because our whole body should be viewed as one. Our whole body and all the organs should not be separated. So when we feel disturbed, or we feel in a pretty, you know, anxiety, negative mode, right? We can actually trick our brain, right? So our brain, if we focus on positive things, we trick our brain, and our brain will communicate with the heart. And guess what? Everything will just go the other way, right? If we are feeling negative and we think positive, it connects to our heart and our whole body. Then the whole body will become positive. You see, so it's all up to us. If we want to, well, I mean, be in a anxiety, depression, and that's why you see some people, they don't know how to get out of it. They end up committing suicide, which is a shame, because it's inherent in all of us that we can help ourselves to heal, you know, if we know how to connect and how to focus on the right intentions and help our body to heal, it can heal. And look at the practice of NLG. We have thousands and thousands of testimonials. I like to pride myself by saying that, right? And what is the proof? Well, if we don't have anything good, do you think people will enroll for our class 1, class 2, class 3? Even if you give free food, if the food is not tasting good, do you think people will queue up for it? Right? So if you have a good formula and something that works, look at us. The proof is there. 10 days ago, we had about more than 50,000 class 3 in the Vietnamese and combined. More than 50,000.
Okay. James, excuse me. It's about time for Mr. Lay to do the energy transmission.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me ask to Mr. Lay. All righty. I think people were presenting to Mr. Lay some drawing as a gift. And don't you love his background today? It looks like the live scene at some beautiful park.
Looks like Mr. Lee has gone virtual.
Yes, he has. Yes. Now, Mr. Lay asks you to put aside all your anxiety, your anger, your worries, and ready to receive the wonderful energy. All right. Yes, welcome back. I'm still looking for my video. Okay. Hello again, everyone. And hi again, James. I hope that you all had a chance to sit back, relax, and focus, receiving the wonderful energy from Mr. Lei. Seems like our Vietnamese host happened to point a focus on herself for a little while, but yeah, luckily the IT corrected that. Oh, and one thing. So this is funny, not funny. People have reflected to Mr. Lei that it was so distracting with his background, because last night I think he had the background where there were a lot of birds flying up and down, and it was a little more crazy than this one. And he said he purposely did that because he wanted to train his practitioners to focus, because sometimes we practice and we don't have the luxury of having a quiet and of your own little room and you practice, sometimes you have to practice with a lot of distractions. So that's a little sharing our little inside story.
Yeah, I guess so. And also the fact that the lady host appeared for a while, the transmission went nonetheless. You're still absorbing it. It's still being
That's correct.
transmitted, and you just have to believe, and you're still receiving it. So yeah, I always look forward to this moment in my day to receive
that's wonderful.
healing energy. And then about 6 hours later, I'll be doing my own self-healing.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Every 6 hours, you're doing your homework.
Yeah. So as I was saying just a short while ago before the transmission, the fact that, we had more than 50,000 who enrolled for class 3 about 10 days ago. And also last weekend was the Vietnamese class 1. And guess what? We had more than 72,000.
That's a lot. I know.
That's every 2 weeks. That's twice a month, right? And wow, it's amazing, right? And within the English-speaking community for this coming class 1, we probably have 100 plus. So we are quite a pale comparison to the Vietnamese, classes. But nevertheless, I mean, those people who are watching in today, do enroll yourself. Just be thankful that we are pioneers and we are included in this journey.
Absolutely.
With the help of the team, and also, we are blessed to be in part of this amazing NLG journey. So do enroll for our weekend class, and you'll find amazing things happening to your lives.
Absolutely. Yes. And do we have any more to share about our topic today, Dr. James, or are we pretty much?
I think we're done.
We covered pretty much everything. Yes,
I mean,
there are a lot more.
Heavy for a lot of people, I guess.
Yes, that's all for today, right? So let me take this opportunity to remind you of the upcoming classes this weekend. And so yeah, class 1 in French, it will be 2 p.m. Paris time, November 20th and 21st, this coming Saturday and Sunday. And then class 1 in English, conducted by Dr. James again. As usual, 8 p.m. Vietnam time or 5 p.m. California time. And last but not least, our Thanksgiving program. And there's a slight change in our schedule. So it's going to be 5 p.m. California time. Before it was set for 5:30. Now we move it up a little bit earlier. So this coming Saturday, November 20th, we will have our special Thanksgiving program. And we hope you set some time. It's the weekend. Set some time and join us. And we will have a lot to share with you. There will be a lot of fun, a time to get together in our energy community. And we will see Mr. Lei. And he has some surprise for you too. And we also have a gift for him. Anyway, it's going to be a fun event. All right. Well, thank you so much, Dr. James, for our nice science talk again today. And I look forward to our next science talk next Thursday.
Yeah, I look forward to.
All right. Have a great class.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. All right. To our audience, thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you are enlightened with the new knowledge. Probably not new at all, but if you haven't heard or known about it, yes, it's always nice to learn something new. And also when you can relate, especially when you can relate that knowledge to your energy practice. And yes, we hope to see you, more of you, in our upcoming live streams, and we'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day. Bye for now.